let me ask you about the triathlons, because that is something very, very cool. You know, most people, they don't build a business, raise millions and build a successful product and get that out there to the world and, you know, and own their sector. Whilst they're also running, you know, like Ironman triathlons, right? That's quite a niche category, James. You figured that out. But on your website, you've got a public list of things that you'd like to do before you die.
I love how much research you've done on this. It's great. Yes, I do.
But when we're not having a podcast, I have a recruiting company, so we have to research in detail every candidate. So it just bleeds into every asset of my life. I'll be like meeting with one of my wife's friends or something, and I'm like, so, you know, back in 2017 when you were at this place, they're like, this guy's stalking me. I just can't help it.
Just research. No,
yeah, in my DNA, man. So you got this list from like learning Taekwondo to visiting every island in Scotland to opening up a cycling cafe. Now, one of these targets was to become an Ironman triathlete, which you've done twice now. Tell me about that journey, because that is like equally as impressive as the business that you built.
Thank you. I got into running when I was 16. I had really bad insomnia. I was awake till 4 or 5 most mornings before school, and then showing up to school like a zombie with about 2 hours sleep. And I was experiencing a lot of anxiety. The insomnia wasn't helping the anxiety, and nothing seemed to be working. I was seeing a therapist. They were telling me, you know, try listening to whale sounds at night, you know, read a book before you go to bed. Wasn't working. And then I was at a music school, and it was a boarding school, and one of the house staff said to me, why don't you come on a run with me? We're going to run 3K, like we'll run for like 15 minutes, see how that feels. And I passed out afterwards and slept like a baby. And I realized if I exhausted myself physically, I was more likely to fall asleep at night. And then I started to feel all the other benefits of exercise, you know, the endorphin rush, the sense of progress, the community in running. And I fell in love with running, got into cycling at university. Everyone cycles everywhere at Cambridge. And I did a duathlon straight after uni. I knew triathlon was inevitable. It felt like it was calling me, like this siren call. But I hadn't swam properly in like a decade. And every triathlete will tell you they've got one discipline that is like their weaker discipline. For me, it was and is and probably will always be swimming. And in 2019, with a flatmate of mine at the time, we said, we're going to do our first triathlon this year. We did a sprint triathlon, which was really fun. Got the bug, signed up for an Olympic triathlon 3 months later, really got the bug. I was in Poland on holiday, doing some solo travel. I found myself in a bar and I was slightly drunk. And on the way home, I decided I'm going to do a half Ironman in 3 months. So I signed up for a half Ironman, loved that. And then, you know, once you've done the half, it's a bit like a marathon. I think once you've done the half marathon, there's a part of you that knows, okay, we're going to do a marathon at some point. And yeah, I did my first Ironman in 21 and second one in 22. And the one I was supposed to do, Ironman Wales, was delayed like twice because of COVID and all of that. But people do ask me, how do you fit it in? Yeah. Like, how are you able to train for this Ironman and run a business? For me, all the training and all the sport is what helps me perform at work. And if I didn't go running a few times a week, if I didn't go out on my bike, I don't think I'd be as effective at work. I don't think I'd have as much energy. I don't think I'd be as focused. I think my baseline mood would be lower. I think I would probably be slightly more cynical and pessimistic than optimistic and sort of forward-looking. I think my sleep would probably be a little bit worse if I wasn't training. So for me and the way my brain chemistry works, I think doing all of the training is what helps me perform at work.
Do you meditate?
I try to.
Yeah.
I am, yes, I've dipped my toes in a few times. I've never been able to establish a daily habit, but I am actually, I haven't really shared this yet, so it will be public once we record once you release the episode. I'm about to go on a 2-month sabbatical.
Oh, nice.
In 5 days. And I'm flying to Japan on Saturday.
Yeah.
And one of the things I want to do is establish a daily meditation habit. I'm going to find a silent retreat for a few days. And I'm meeting up with a friend in Japan who has meditated with me and shown me I guess, meditative experiences that blew my mind.
Okay.
We sat and meditated together, I think, last year. And I opened my eyes at the end and thought 15 minutes had passed, and it was about an hour and 45.
Yeah.
So it's something I'm very curious about and hoping to go deeper on.
Okay.
Over
So
the next
you're
couple
doing
months.
Japan. I think you're doing other places as well?
I'm going to Japan for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I'm going to see a friend in South Korea, in Seoul, for a week. And then the rest of the time off is unplanned at the moment. It's sort of a reset and a sort of recharge after nearly 10 years building Encore. I might go and cycle around the north coast of Scotland.
Yeah.
I might just stay at home like a potato and do nothing for 4 weeks and just let my nervous system relax. But yeah, the goal is to come back end of June sort of refreshed and ready to go again.
I love that because you are sticking to the public list of things on your website. I did see Japan and South Korea on there, so you can finally cross those off. Similar to you, I have a bit of an obsession with doing crazy things before I die. Your list is perhaps a little bit more crazy than mine with some of the examples, but where does this urgency to complete tasks before you're gone come from?
I think I wasn't expecting this podcast to go so deep. When you think about life being finite and you think, I'm going to die, you suddenly value the time you have, and I want to experience as much as I can before the end. So putting that list together, I don't think it gives me necessarily a sense of urgency, but I do think, the Stoics thought a lot about death. There was a lot of negative visualization. I do think when you are conscious of the fact that this isn't forever, we've got limited time, you start to prioritize doing cool. Some of the best experiences in my life so far have come from doing things like Ironmans, going on 5-day bike trips, getting to that mental place where for me, my mind is empty, my mind is clear, I have all the endorphins and the serotonin and all of that rushing through my body, and I feel incredibly at peace and sort of fulfilled. So a lot of the items on that list, to people who haven't experienced that, it might just look like someone who's very type A saying, I want to do this ultra marathon, I want to do this race. To me, I want to see what happens when I spend 12 hours running. I want to see what happens if I do a 2-day ultra marathon. What kind of mental space do you get into? Because I have a feeling it would be quite unique and quite special. And the ultra marathon and the adventure and all of the training leading up to it is all going to be very fun. But I'm curious to know, what does it feel like to be in that space? Yeah. One of the other items is buy a motorbike. I saw that. That looks a little bit stupid.
You had a picture of it as well.
It's bright blue.
Yeah.
It has a yellow Rizla logo on it. I don't smoke. I will never smoke. But I've seen this bike in the street, and I fell in love with it. And I really want to own that bike at some point. Yeah. But I want to see what it's like to, drive a motorbike at, 100 miles an hour, 150 miles an hour, and to experience that flow and that sort of adrenaline rush. For me, it's about experiencing different mental states that come from physical exertion or adrenaline. Yeah.
I have a human skull, not a real human skull. It's
wow.
Yeah. It's not a real one. Okay. It was actually bought from Pets at Home. It was meant to be for a fish tank.
Oh, okay.
With a fish tank inside. It's a little bit less.
You should probably start the story like that. I went to Pets at Home and I got a human skull rather than the other way around. Just so I have a human skull.
Yeah. I don't have fish, but I keep it on my desk as memento mori, remember you will die. Yep. For me, it's the most powerful way of looking at life. Knowing that I used to have this other thing as well in my old house where on the wall I'd have the amount of weeks that I have left, just estimates.
I've really thought about that before because I've heard from people who've done that. It's really powerful, right?
So powerful, man. Yeah. And you realize I'm probably a quarter of the way through my life, right?
What age are you?
I'm 27. Yeah.
Okay. I hope you're a quarter of the way. That would be 108. That would be pretty good.
Well, with the impending singularity and everything that's going to happen, who knows? We might be living forever, but
who knows?
Yeah, people have thought about living forever for forever, but it hasn't happened yet. But
getting closer.
We'll see what happens with AGI and everything. You posted in 2018 a quote on your Instagram, which said, "Keep death in mind at all times."
I was about to mention that. How did you? Yeah.
From the Bushido samurai philosophy. I couldn't work out if it was you who posted it or one of your team that wrote it and put it on your desk or something.
I wrote it, and my team thought I was a little bit unhinged.
Yeah,
and,
I love that quote.
And a lot of my friends, I've told them about this quote, and they've kind of said, "What the James? Like, why would you have a post-it note on your desk that says, 'Keep death in mind at all times'?" Again, to me, it's sort of liberating and freeing to look at that post-it and think, I've got finite time. I want to use my time well. I want to, work hard. I want to be successful, and I want to experience the world. To me, I find it very galvanizing. I think I read somewhere a couple of days ago that all fear ultimately comes from a fear of death. And if you can overcome the fear of death, then you can sort of transcend most like worldly fears. Easier said than done. I'm definitely afraid of death. But when I think about this line, keep death in mind at all times, even though I'm afraid of what might happen afterwards, and in my mind it's nothing, which is what's quite scary, it makes me value the time I have now. And also this line, live every day as if it's your last.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot of pressure to put on yourself, but it really does change how you approach life if you think, actually, this is it. I'm not getting there's no more time after this.
Okay, I won't leave it on that note. It was a very deep and philosophical past few minutes. So let me finish with, I guess if people want to find more about you, find more about Encore, where should they go? What's the website?
So we are encoremusicians.com, and they can find us on social media, TikTok, Instagram. We've been experimenting with TikTok recently, and that is a brave new world for business marketing. And people can find me on LinkedIn is probably the platform I'm most active on, actually.
Okay, and just search James McAulay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, James, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for a great chat. That was honestly the best researched podcast I've ever been on. And you went all the way back. 6 years. Nice.
But I'm going to clip that, and then if anybody ever says, "I don't want to come on the podcast, Alfie," then boom.
Just send them that. Yeah.
You're now receiving this clip. Come on the podcast.